All right, let's go out to Houston, Texas, and talk to Tony. All right, hey, Tony.
How's it going?
What's up, man?
Thanks for taking my call.
You got it. All right, so let me fill everybody in here. Jenna, when was this original call?
My wife called in a couple months ago.
Okay, your wife calls in a couple months ago, and I made some sort of statement like, I wish your husband would call me, something like that, right? And then here you are?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So, number one, you're a courageous guy, and it's an honor to get to talk to you, okay? Most people shirk away, and you said, no, I'll talk to that dude. So, good for you, man. The second thing was if I remember correctly, this call was about hidden money and emotional fit, like all kind of stuff. And I made some pretty bold statements that I didn't believe the story she was telling me or the story that you had told her that she was not telling me. And so you had the courage to call. So good for you, man. So let's just jump in. So tell me, you heard the call and all that, right?
I did. I've listened to it a bunch of times.
Okay. So tell me what's going on in y'all's world.
I mean, am I to recap or just keep move forward?
Go for it, man. Recap it, and then let's we can figure out what happens next.
Well, it started by me trying to start a company, and the company not really generating as much money as I needed it to, and at the time we had separate bank accounts. We basically had a financial roommate situation where we pooled all our money for our bills, and then all the rest of the money was just ours. So,
like what you made was yours, what she made was hers.
Kind of, but all of our bills, our mortgage, our insurance, all of that stuff, we just threw it all into the middle, and then whatever was left was ours. Which, after going through the Ramsey plan, it was just a terrible thing that we did for a very long time.
Sure, gotcha. And so did you have a separate business account for this business you were trying to start, or were you just running out of the family checking account?
That and credit cards and just trying to get it up off the ground.
What kind of business was it?
It's just remodeling. Okay. I build houses, and I can flip houses for people, and there's a lot of money that churns in it. But if you take an extra month on the project, you may not make any money.
That's right. So did you find yourself having to get money for the next job to float this job and kind of getting that loop-de-loop?
Yeah, Ponzi scheme kind of thing. And I didn't let it affect the household because I was so adamant that this thing was going to take off. So I took care of everything on the business side. But, I didn't rack up $60,000 of debt at one time. It was debt by 1,000 purchases. It wasn't these big purchases. And you were right when you said that they were purses and trips and hotels. The only difference was those were all purchases for my wife. They were to keep up the appearance that everything was going good, because in my mind, I knew like right around the corner, I was going to hit this big job, and it was just going to wipe all this away, and things were going to be great. And that big job never came.
So whenever somebody tells me, hey, I discovered this huge amount of debt that my partner has, my wife has it or my husband has it, and I ask what they spend it on, and they can't tell me, oh, it was on a tractor, or it was on, like, all of a sudden my garage was just covered in DeWalt tools. Almost.
Well, I have that.
No, I bought that, dude. So almost always, not 100%, but almost always somebody's having an affair. Someone has something on the side. And this money is just racking up. And she never told me anything about suddenly she was getting all these gifts and things. Did she just leave that part out?
It wasn't that she was getting the gifts. It's that I never made her. We went from, our lifestyle never changed. So when my income dropped significantly, our lifestyle didn't change. and I was making up for that with credit. And when Christmas would come around, I would blow it out of the water like I had before, and take until June to pay all Christmas off, and then minimum payment, all the other stuff. And then, after the Christmas was paid off, then if we wanted sushi or go to dinner or to do this or that, and I didn't have enough like liquid funds, I just have a hard time saying no to her. So I just would always take care of it.
So it wasn't a matter of you spending $60,000. Is that what the number was? 60, 80, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a roller coaster. It was up and down and up and down, because I would,
You get a job, and then you spend a whole bunch of money on that job, and you get another job and spend a whole bunch of money on that job.
Right. Well, and then I went back to work for a home builder, so I had regular paychecks again, and then I would do a big job. But if I did a big job and she knew how much I made, that money didn't go towards the debt that she didn't know about. It went into our emergency fund. So here's $10,000. Oh, great, we can put that in our emergency fund.
So, dude, you sound exactly like somebody juggling women on the side. You know that, right?
I do, but there was no woman on the side until 6-7 months ago, and it wasn't a woman on the side. It was like I was in therapy before. I was in therapy trying to get my wife to also go to marriage counseling.
But do you understand? Do you understand that you're running this hustle on the side? You have literally a second life, a life that is failing financially, a life that is covered up in shame, and you're just scared to death. And then you bring that energy into your household. And your wife, do you have little ones?
I do.
Okay. Everybody feels that there's a machine running inside that dude's chest. And they start figuring out, it must be me. It must be something else. It must be that I'm not doing this enough. And people just it starts with an inch. They just move a little bit away and a little bit more away. And then you feel that, and you try to spin that machine even faster. They feel that. They move further and further and further away. So this thing starts pretty innocuously, right? It starts like, I didn't make it anything on that job. I lost $2,000 on that job. And then your heartbeat kicks up 2 beats a minute. It's a little more stress. And then a little more, got to get another job, got to get another one, got to get another one. You get one, sweet. And then you end up losing $5,000 on that one. And it just builds and builds. And the whole time when you're saying, I don't want you to go to marriage counseling, you see how
this was after
she found out?
After the diagnosis, after she found out about the woman at work. I went back to therapy. And then I wanted to go with her, and she was apprehensive, and when we had already gotten through the financial stuff, when the coworker stuff started, she found out, we found the Ramsey plan, we combined all of our accounts, we cleared out all of that debt, including all of our cars and everything. We're debt free except for the house that we have and the lot that we own. And we have a substantial investments and a substantial, because she has a chronic disease, we have substantial emergency fund.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
Hopefully by now you know this isn't about money.
I'm well aware.
Okay.
Yeah, because I when she got diagnosed, I panicked because there were complications, and she was pregnant with my daughter. Mm-hmm. And immediately I went into, I have to do all the things that I can do to give her as much time with the kids as possible, to do the things that I'm capable of doing. So I remodeled the house so we could have a nicer house. And, I would try to give her every second with the kids. And I drove a huge wedge in between us.
Right.
where she's doing bath time, I'm doing dishes. I find out, 2 years later, oh, I wish we could have switched off because what you're giving me is hard. But I thought what I was giving her was what could potentially be taken away.
That's right.
And that wedge is what our friendship, not our marriage, but the two of us being friends.
Yeah.
And then that's where I wasn't even really aware of it, that I was seeking a friendship outside of my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And
so bring me to right now.
So, I mean, right now I've printed out I've gone to the credit card companies and had them send all of the bank statements, all the credit card statements.
Hold on. Let's get before that.
Okay.
What you have is a long pattern of trying to love your wife, trying to take care of your wife and your kids in the way that you think they need to be taken care of. Have you sat down with your wife and said, how can I love you today?
Yeah, we've just recently done that.
Okay. Because what you have is you've got 4 years or whatever the number is of trying to create a business that would make $1 jillion. And I would even go as far to say is you want to be a successful entrepreneur, but just talking to you, I think you want to be a guy that gives your wife whatever she wants in the world.
Yeah.
And that you want to give your kids whatever they want in the world. So much so that you will ignore math. You'll ignore reality because I'm going to make this thing happen for them. Right? And then you want to be such a great dad. I'm going to make this house amazing for my wife and kids. I've heard her. I've seen what she's watching out of the corner of her eye on HGTV. I'm going to give her that. I see how hard she's working with these kids. I'm going to make sure there's not a dish in the sink. I'm going to make sure there's not a scrap of trash. I'm going to take it out every day. I'm going to make sure the lawn is perfect. I'm going to do all this stuff for her because I love her so much. And she's sitting in there saying, God, I wish he would just come help with the bath.
Yeah.
Right? And so there does come a moment when people need friends and coworkers, especially coworkers you're attracted to. That's a whole thing. It happens all the time. I'm not going to beat you up for that, okay? You know, right?
Yeah. It's just never happened to me. I didn't ever expect to be in that situation.
Nobody expects that, okay? And here we are. What I'm afraid is going to happen is you're going to quit because you've been working so hard for years. And all it's got you is a wife who doesn't like you. And kids who are like, ugh. Because dad's always stressed and dad's always exhausted and mom's always mad at dad and dad always whatever.
See, that's the thing. In the last 2 months, we've gone to counseling. Before we even went to counseling, we had that discussion about why what I was doing was dividing us, and we went to work on that. And I just stepped back and just treated her normal because she said, well, you're doing all this stuff and you're treating me like I'm disabled. So I stepped back and we just take care of everything together, and things have gotten a lot better. But I want to be able to, like you said, I want to be able to make the ground underneath her solid, and I want to make her feel safe. That's what I want.
Perfect. Let her tell you. Let her tell you that. Because it's real easy to listen to that last call and be like, I'm going to prove to you. And maybe she didn't ask for you to prove to her. Or maybe instead of running out and printing off every receipt and spending hours and she's saying, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm just trying to get the, instead of that. Just to say, hey, I did something for years that was dishonest and wasn't true. And it doesn't matter why I was doing it, because I was trying to give you the world. It doesn't matter. What matters is I did it, and I'm so sorry. And then asking her, what is the next step that I can do for you to help rebuild trust? I'm going to let you speak into that. And for some folks, it's, I need to see your phone every day. Okay. For some folks, it's, I need to see all the credit card. Okay. For some folks, it's every morning before you go to work, I want to look you in the eyes, and we're going to talk about what we each need that day. Everybody's different. But the key here is, where everybody's the same in this deal, is you have to stop trying to solve all her problems or completely disengaging. You got to stay in gear, but you got to ask her, what do you need? What do you need today? And she's probably not even going to know sometimes. I don't know. Okay, cool. I'm going to check in 4 times. And what you're doing right now, man, is all you're doing is taking that energy and that love and that commitment that you have for her, and you're channeling it like a laser right into her heart, and she's going to tell you how to get there. Because Instagram can't tell you, the way your dad did it can't tell you. She is. That's your wife. You see the difference?
Yes.
And bro, I almost lost it all doing the exact same thing. Okay? And I want to tell you, on the other side of this, everything in my marriage and my life is different because I start the day with, how can I love you today? Everything changes. Because now I've got some direction for this chaotic energy and this insane amount of love and respect that I have for my wife. Now I've got a place to channel it. Because before it was all over the place. So does she still want to be married to you?
Yeah. Right now, yes.
Okay. You're going to have to dust your pants off and stand back up. Because you're talking like a guy that got knocked out.
Well, she's always been my everything, and I have not had support because I can't turn to her for that support right now. I don't have a network to lean on.
Well, 2 things. Number 1, that's your job to go get that. Okay. Number 2, this doesn't work if it's one-sided all the way. If you go groveling around on your hands and knees saying, I'm so sorry, and she's like, that doesn't work. The conversation is, how can I love you better today? What do you need from me today? And then she has to ask that question back to you. How can I love you today? And sometimes your answer might be, man, I would love just to spend a little time with you and not the kids. Sometimes it might be, no, I'm actually really good right now. Can we just watch a show tonight after the kids are in bed? Sometimes it's, I miss you. We haven't had sex in like 2 weeks. You want to party? Like, it can be whatever. But you've got to be honest and state it out loud and just say it. And I think I've said this on the show before. I can't tell you how embarrassed I was. And now I'm embarrassed that I was embarrassed because it's stupid. But it was after 15 or 16 years of being married and things got really rough that I finally said out loud, I worked so hard for you. I wish you would just say the words, I'm proud of you.
I think I'm in a similar situation.
Okay. You got to say that out loud. And you also have to be willing to admit, I did some things that I'm not proud of in an effort to keep up appearances. I will never lie to you again. I'll never hide from you again. You see how that's radically different? That's a new identity. I'm going to tell you things even when I don't know how. And I'm going to ask for grace on the back end of those conversations, but I'm not ever going to hide a thing from you again. And that means you have to deal with shame. That means you have to deal with when things go wrong or you get fired or you get in trouble or you don't get the promotion you thought you were going to get. You got to go home and say it. And then she's going to feel safe. Not that, oh, no, we lost a job. She's going to feel safe that that guy tells the truth. I can anchor into that guy. And we are going to figure out what happens next together. That's marriage. That's not one dude trying to be a hero, trying to save everything. Now, I'll say this. I think your marriage is going to be extraordinary. because I think you're all in. And I think you've got the passion and the love and the connectivity with this woman. And if you've told me the truth, and I can't see you, so I'm just gonna take you at your word. If you're a guy who's been telling the truth, take it one step further and say, I know what I did was wrong, and I'm sorry. I will never lie to you again. How can I love you today? And it sounds so elementary. I should be able to know how to love my wife. You don't. Most of us don't. I should be able to meet my husband's needs. You don't know. You can't if he doesn't tell you what they are. If y'all will practice those steps, little bitty steps, and there's going to be some days that this comes crashing back on her and she gets sad and upset and frustrated. That's okay. That happens. That's life. There's going to be some days that you wake up and you're bathing in shame because I should be so much further ahead in my career, financially. That's fine. That'll happen. So I need a couple of buddies that you can call and go hang out with. Commit. How can I love you today? And here's how you can love me today. It's an incredible dance. It's an incredible dance.